sometimes you have to just show some madness. Hello and welcome to the first edition of my book reviews. My name is Temi. Today we're going to be reviewing this book called Ties That Tether by Jane Igharo. Okay, first of all, it's a really quick read. I think I read it all in about 3 hours, so it's a quick read, and that was definitely a positive for me because I don't really have that much time right now. I'm in between so many things, so that was good that it didn't take that much time, and it was really good that I didn't want to stop reading it until I had finished. So this book I got as one of many book presents from my husband for Christmas, and I really haven't had time to read lots of them. So I didn't actually know that it was a romantic book when I bought it or when I got it as a present. I was very intrigued by the cover, first of all. So whoever the artist is, well done, because I think that's why I chose it. So it's a romantic book basically, and it's about this Nigerian Canadian girl who falls in love with a white man, or a Spanish man, but white anyway. And she has to tell her family, who are not in support of it. So the book, first of all, the book starts with a one-night stand, which was weird because you don't really, well, I don't know, but for me, I'm not really into books that spend all their time describing sexual experiences rather than just focus on the plot of the book. But I guess that's what sells. But this wasn't like that at all. It wasn't as deep as I would have expected for a one-night stand. It started as a one-night stand and her wondering how she got there, and then they gave us a bit of a flashback with what caused her to make bad decisions. You know, the worst time to make a decision is when you're upset. And she made a decision when she was upset, and she met a stranger at a bar, and they, you know, went and did the dirty, the nasty. So when they flashed back to the person she went on a date with, first of all, he was a tool. He was a complete tool. But again, that's a normal thing, okay? I can't even remember what his name was, but she had been set up on a date by her mom because her mom wanted her to marry somebody from her tribe, which is I think it's a very common thing among Nigerian parents. They just don't want to lose their culture, and I guess it's understandable because they know where they're coming from. They know how easy it is for impressionable children to lose their culture. It's easy, and they have something to protect because they've been through these things before in the past with losing their culture and not having anyone to pass it on, you know, pass on their culture, pass on their language, you know, things like that. It can be quite intense, okay? And this woman was setting her daughter up on dates with people from her tribe, and this guy was the typical African guy, sorry, but like, you know, with that mentality of men being, you know, always being the boss, women don't work, they sit at home, and whenever they need money for anything, they come and meet you. Oh, can I have money, please? I want to buy food, I want to buy stew, I want to, you know, all those things that you can just easily get some money for from your own pockets. You have to ask for permission from somebody, you know. They want to keep you under their thumb, sort of. And they've not really evolved into the 21st century. Sorry if that sounds offensive, but that's kind of like the typical. Obviously, we're growing as, you know, as a people, and there are people. God, I keep getting confused, and I keep looking into the side thing, so looking into the camera. So sorry, I don't really have shifty eyes. I'm just not really used to this. Okay, so as I was saying, there are people who are not like that. There are people who are very progressive. I'm just saying that's the typical guy, and that was the typical guy. And he expected her to give up her successful job to sit at home and take care of the kids, which, if it's her decision, you know, obviously she has decided it. You know, some people want to be stay-at-home moms. That's great, okay? But you cannot, somebody you're meeting for the first time, and you just say you're going to give up your job when you marry, right? First of all, that really, really upsets me because I can't believe there are people who still think like that in the 21st century. And she just happened to go on a date with one of them. And I think she handled this really, really well. She just walked out. Actually, what really pissed me off was when the guy was like, your dad died a long time ago. You should be over it by now. You should be over it by now. your dad. So anyway, that was what really upset her and made her take that decision. And it was sort of like a domino. When one piece falls, everything just comes crashing down. And that was it. It was from that decision. And then, like the typical romantic comedy, she went to work a few weeks later and the guy was the new hire. And obviously both of them had been thinking about things, because it didn't really end well, in the sense that she left before he woke up and he was really upset. And it was about trying to get back together, but not really trying to get back together because of her mom. She really didn't want to disappoint her mom. And that brings me to my first theme of this book, the first African daughter syndrome. Okay, I don't know if anyone knows about this syndrome, but it's like, if you're the first child and you're a girl, that's even worse. But if you're a first daughter but not the first child, I think there may be a little bit of a leeway. But if you're a first child and the first daughter, the amount of pressure on you, oh my God, is ridiculous. So her dad, she has made a promise to her dad on his dying bed, not to marry a white man, or not to lose herself, not to lose her culture. And her mom, and this man has died like 12 years ago, but her mom keeps reminding her of her promise to her dad on it. Do you know what it is to promise somebody something on the dying bed? So I suppose it's the deepest promise that she'll ever make, and the most important promise that she'll ever make or break. And now it's about how she emancipates herself from under the thumb of her mom. Basically, that's what the entire book is about. It's about always trying to do the right thing, always trying to please your parents, even though you're not happy. But again, there was a part where her mom set her up with one of her ex-boyfriends from camp when they were teenagers, who, she had a really bad relationship with, and he left her high and dry. But her mom didn't know that part. Her mom only knew that, he was now a medical doctor. So for African parents, the good careers are doctor, lawyer, engineer, what else? But like, say you want to be a writer, say you want to be like an advertising executive, say you want to be, I don't know, like a content creator, for example. Okay, in whose house? The first daughter syndrome is what stood out the most in this book. She just killed herself. It was 300 pages of her nearly killing herself to make her mom proud of her. And that's the thing with African parents generally. They kind of have an idea of how they want your life to go. They know the track that they want your life to go down. Go to school, get a degree, get married, have children, and preferably get a degree that they want. Because even though they love you, even though your parents love you, they have like a different other plan for your life, and you have to fall in line, or they'll take their love from you. So it's like a bargain. Be good and I'll love you. Be bad and I no longer love you. So when she eventually chose this guy, the white guy, because she got pregnant. First of all, her mom disowned her, and that was exactly it. Like, she was a good child every time she did something. And this girl is 25 years old. She's literally 25. She's a baby. She's a baby, but they're like on top of her head for her to get married. I'm almost setting on dates every week because you're going to end up an old maid and things like that. And it's not necessary. It's too stressful, okay? She's 25. And then obviously when she chose the white guy, her mom disowned her, and she was like, oh, if you end up dating this person that I've chosen, then I'll be your mom again. So she went through the entire pregnancy without her mom. She had a baby shower, and then her mom didn't make it. I felt like the mom was really wicked, and the redemption arc that they drew for her mom was sort of based on the protagonist, like, blackmailing her mom emotionally. So what happened was she caught her mom in bed with her uncle, who kind of raised them sort of like a dad, and that was like the emotional blowout. So I was just wondering, if that scene wasn't there where she didn't catch her mom in bed, would her mom like get away with what she did and all the like deadly things that she said to her daughter when she was pregnant. Come on. So if she didn't catch them in bed, what would that mean? That would mean the woman would go scot-free. Well, that was the only part of the book that I found a little bit iffy, because she tried to reconcile with her mom. She tried to tell her mom, oh, I've broken up with this guy, can you be my mom again? But then she walked in and her mom was in bed with her uncle. And it was like, and then her mom started crying, oh, it's not what you think, let me explain myself. And then her mom explained, oh, I can't keep living in your dad's shadow. And I was like, what do you mean you can't? You've made your daughter live in his shadow for 12 years and suddenly you don't have to live in his shadow. What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? And then that was what made the girl sort of like say, oh, so you can do this, but me, I can't do this. And I was like, okay, what if her mom didn't do that? What would she have done? Would her mom have gotten away with ruining her happiness for life? You know? And then even I feel like the white guy was really quite long-suffering, to be honest. Fine, he made a big mistake, you know, keeping a big secret from her. But still, which is again something I thought was a little bit drawn out. The secret was too long and not I suppose we can disagree, but it was not that deep for him to sort of keep for that long. I get survivor's guilt and stuff, but I don't think it was that deep. It wasn't deep enough for him to have kept for so long. You know, I didn't feel the reason was deep enough. But anyway, that's how it went. The guy was really long suffering. He tried his best. He tried his best, and honestly, his best just wasn't good enough for a first African daughter with first daughter syndrome. So a few things I really liked about the book. They name dropped a lot of my faves. So like Genevieve Naji, she was mentioned. Banky W was mentioned. Patience was awkward, the OG mama was mentioned. And those really made me smile. And then I like the flowery, you know, when words just flow, when words just like flow, that's the best way to describe it. When words are like, it's easy for the writer to describe things. And then there were some little bits of teaching culture that I just felt were put there for, I don't know, like to make sure that we knew that culture was trying to be preserved. I don't know if that makes sense. I'm thinking particularly about the scene where she found out she was pregnant, but she had gone with a client and the white guy, Raphael, I think his name is, yeah, Raphael, and they went to a Nigerian restaurant and she was teaching him how to eat eba, and she was like, Raphael, you don't chew eba, you swallow. Well, yeah, I guess you have to show sort of like how cultures are mixing and stuff. But I don't remember them teaching us like, you know, Spanish culture, like apart from the dance, there wasn't any like eating Spanish food. But I guess it's, you know, it's just what I think. But in other news, I chew eba. I chew all my swallow, because I've tried swallowing things straight away and they just like hook in my throat and it can't go down. I'm like, water. So I chew my food. I don't really like eba anyway, but if I had to eat eba, I would chew it. Is that strange? Is that weird? Anyway, so overall, I would give this book because I'm a sucker for romantic stories and happy ever afters, I would give this book like an 8 out of 10, I think. The ending was really nice, how everything all came together, except for how the mom got away with, you know, all her behavior. She just got away with things. I'm angry. I'm upset. She just got away with it because she was... Anyway, I guess you love your mom and you'll forgive your mom for, you know. So that is the end of this review. I hope it made sense, even though it was all over the place. But again, this is my first review and I hope that the others are better. I actually had a part where I wrote notes, where I took notes on my phone. I took notes on what to talk about and things like that. But I think it wasn't that structured. But at the same time, I want it to be like a discussion. I don't want it to be like a structured lecture. I'm saying, oh, okay, chapter 1 told us about blah, 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 or chapter 2 told us about blah, blah, blah. You know, I don't want to do that. I wanted to discuss things that stood out to me. But for me, it was mainly this need to please your parents and them withdrawing their love from you when you do something that they don't, you know, they don't like. Sometimes you have to just show some madness, you know. Sometimes the only way to collect yourself, I translated that directly from Yoruba, but the only way to emancipate yourself from under the thumb of your parents is to show them something at some point, like to show them that you're an adult that is capable of making their own decisions, okay? And sometimes your decision is not what they want, but it doesn't mean it's a bad decision. It doesn't mean it's a good decision, but it doesn't mean it's a bad decision either. I get that they don't want you to fall into a gutter, for example. They want to stop you from hurting yourself, but they don't always know what's right for you, especially in this new world that we're in. Yoruba people say that whatever an adult can see sitting down, a child can't see even if they stand on the tallest tree. And that is, a testament to experience. They've lived 50 years, 60 years, and you're only like 20. Obviously they have more experience, they have more life experience than you, but it depends again on the kind of experience. It's not all experiences are not general, okay? Because they have this experience doesn't mean that you're going to have this experience as well. And I think it's just getting them to understand that in a very liberal way. You are not stupid. They did not raise a stupid child. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's something to think about if you're currently finding it difficult to stand your ground, especially when you're making a decision that you think is right but your parents think is wrong. So I hope you enjoyed that. Okay, the next book that we're going to review is Love in Color by Bolu Babalola. That's the next. I'm actually reading that now. So that's the next book that I would like to review. So basically I read mostly fiction because I feel like life is too serious to sort of go into those deep things. The last book I read was When Breath Becomes Air, and it's about a doctor who got sick, and it was just it was way too heavy for me. So sorry, not the last book, the last autobiography that I read was way too heavy for me, and I just feel like I read to escape. This now, I know it's all fiction. I know it can happen, but it didn't happen to somebody in particular. It's not like it can't happen, it can. But this guy, I already know what happened, and I know he died in the end. It's just too heavy for me, so I mainly read fiction. I've not really gotten into fantasy a lot. The only fantasies I've read are Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings. But I think I'd like to get into more fantasy sort of thing. Right now, the two kinds of fiction I'm mostly interested in are romance and sort of detective-y kind books. So I've got lots of detective-y kind books, which we will also talk about later. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.